Around a year ago, my husband anxiously sat me down and told me he had discovered he had a long-lost daughter. According to him, he had an ex he got pregnant as a teenager, but she moved away before she started showing and without telling him. She gave birth and kept his daughter a secret from him. Eventually, she put Kat up for adoption. Kat now tracked him down and wanted to get to know him. As I am unable to conceive on my own, I was very enthusiastic and encouraging of them meeting. I asked him about DNA testing or speaking to the mother or adoptive parents. He told me all of that would come in due time, but based on the details she shared with him, he was 90% sure she was his biological daughter. Their first few visits together were private, but eventually we had a big dinner at my house. My husband has seen Kat numerous times since then, both with and without me present. About a week ago, a young man I've never met before messaged me on Facebook. He was Kat's ex-boyfriend and he wanted me to know that this was the woman my husband had been sleeping with. He must have misunderstood Kat's relationship with my husband. When I asked my husband about it, he started crying. He thought I went through his phone and found the text messages between him and Kat. Messages when she was in character. Which is how he segued into telling me that they're in a fake, incestuous daddy-daughter relationship. When my husband told me that he had a daddy-daughter relationship with Kat, I felt sick and I started throwing up. He said that at the time, he had just come up with the long-lost daughter ruse as a panic impulsive excuse. When I was excited and encouraging of the situation, the two of them decided to take advantage of that opportunity. He told me he loved me, but not in any romantic way. That he had married me out of fear of never being able to do better. He considered leaving me well before he met her, but he had always been afraid I may hurt myself or start drinking again. I left and I have not returned home since. How do I tell my family? A few of them have actually met Kat before. I posted Kat on my Facebook numerous times. Do his friends and coworkers know? What do I do about the humiliation? What do I do if my ex-husband dates or even marries his daughter, who I publicly accepted as my own? Should I move away, start all over somewhere else and try to make different friends? The marriage is beyond saving and there will be the normal burdens that come with that. I know. 8 years of my life have been wasted. The financial and practical and even heartsick issues I could potentially deal with. But it's a humiliation. I honestly can't even begin to explain how embarrassed of everything I am. I'm stuck. I have no idea what to do next with my life. When I was in my 20s, I froze 10 eggs. When my husband and I were ready to have kids, I ended up getting pregnant naturally. I'm currently 35 and had my baby a year ago. We do want 2 more children, so we will likely use a few of the eggs. My sister, who is 30, has a 12-year-old daughter and has recently gotten married. Even though she was young, my sister's first pregnancy was a struggle. She's been told that she will probably not be able to have another baby. So her and her husband asked me if they can have 1 or 2 of my stored eggs. I instantly told her no, I would feel really weird about it. I then told her if she paid me a substantial amount of money, I would let her have 2 eggs. I gave her a price of $5,000. She's really torn up and blaming me for not being able to enjoy sharing a child with her husband. I told her she can find a donor egg somewhere else, but she said she wants a baby related by blood. If she can't afford $5,000 for the egg, she can't afford another baby. She has now gone to whine to any family member that will listen. My parents have been begging me to help my sister start a family. They said if her husband decides to leave her because he wants kids, it'll be my fault. Other people have been calling me to shame me for not giving her the eggs. I feel for my sister, but these are my eggs. My sister-in-law and I have an agreement where she watches the kids 3 days a week and I watch hers 3 days a week. A couple of weeks ago, we had an argument, and the next day I brought my kids to her house and dropped them off and left. When I got to work, I had 20 missed calls, all from my sister-in-law saying I need to pick up the kids because she doesn't want to watch them due to our fight. And I had 45 minutes to get there or else she'll call the cops. It took me about an hour to get back to her house, but she already called the cops, so I had to stick around long enough to tell the officer that I didn't abandon my children. It was just miscommunication. I have since arranged for other childcare for my kids and I've been mostly ignoring her. However, she reached out and apologized and has asked if I'd be willing to go back to the old childcare arrangement. I work with kids. If I got abandonment on my record, I would never work in my field again, which she knew, and her calling the police was a massive overreaction. She said that if I checked my phone, talked to her that morning, or came back when I was supposed to, she would not have needed to call the police, and I did this to myself. I've told her that if she thinks I'm babysitting for her, she's delusional and she's on her own. Because of my refusal, it's looking like she may need to quit her job because my brother and her would pay more for a babysitter than they would earn from her working. My mom and brother are calling me an asshole because there was no consequence to her calling the police. I was a product of an affair between my mom and dad. My mom was already married and had a 1-year-old daughter. She wanted to abort me, but my dad begged her and paid her a hefty sum. She signed over all rights and I didn't see her for my 14 years of life. She recently contacted my dad saying she wanted to get to know me better, and he said it's entirely up to me. I was skeptical but decided to meet her. I've been talking to my mom's side for about 2 months when at a family gathering they all sat me down and said the reason they contacted me was because my half-sister was having kidney failure and was basically dying. At a loss for words, I got up and left. I told my dad and he said it's entirely up to me but I should get tested just to see before I make my decision. So I did. When my mom found out, she thought this was me agreeing and told everyone the good news. I did a lot of thinking and I decided I would not be donating my kidney. This family had done nothing for me. The only reason they tried to get in contact was for my kidney. So I don't want anything to do with them. I got loads of hateful calls and messages, but decided to stand by my decision. My stepsister called me and said I'm a douche for giving her false hope. People are saying I'm wrong because I can save a life. My stepsister did nothing wrong. But I feel so used. Am I the asshole for not giving my sister my kidney? I have a 16-year-old babysitter who watches my 4 and 8-year-old. She watches my kids from 9 to 7 from Monday through Saturday, so I asked if she liked anything stocked up in the pantry or the fridge. She mentioned that she really likes seltzer water, and I bought them for the first month, but honestly, I forgot after a while and never kept any in the fridge. A few days ago, I bought hard seltzers for me and my husband and didn't think anything of it. While I'm at work, she messaged me to say if I can come home early because she's not feeling well. I asked her to try and hold out until the end of the day. Not too long after, she called me crying, saying that something was wrong and she had to go home. She was drunk clearly. She had drank the hard seltzers that were in the fridge. I told her to leave and she walked home. She called me the next day crying that she didn't know that the hard seltzers had alcohol in them. Both her parents were alcoholics and she was diagnosed with PTSD regarding alcohol. She never planned on drinking in general. I told her not to come back as she put my children in danger. She says she really didn't know and she cares deeply about my children and would never ever drink or put them in danger. She really can't afford to lose this job. I told her to find a real job and that it wasn't my fault she got drunk. My husband says I'm being very rude and that she did try to reach out when she wasn't feeling well. And my kids are upset to see her go. I'm 29 weeks pregnant with the baby boy. My husband and I were really excited when we found out because a few years ago we suffered from an unfortunate loss of our baby at 24 weeks. Our baby just wasn't developing correctly and there was nothing we could do. It was just one of those sad things. I went to therapy for it and came to terms with it, but my husband never did. As much as I asked and begged, he didn't go. Now, every time we go to a doctor appointment, he essentially has a panic attack talking about how we're going to lose this baby too. It's been happening since I found out I was pregnant, so it's been 29 weeks of this. After my last appointment while coming home, my husband told me we should start considering the worst and look into urns and cremation in case we lose this one too. This is where I told him he needed to go to therapy and I wouldn't be having him come with me to any more appointments because he's stressing me out. He told me I'm being unreasonable and he's being realistic, that I can't stop him from going with me because it's his baby too. This was last week and he has been cold and still hasn't made a therapy appointment and honestly has been kind of hostile towards me. I'm what's considered a high-risk pregnancy. I know he's just scared we're going to lose our baby, but having him with me is maybe the cause of what could make us lose the baby because he makes me so stressed. Am I wrong in this situation? My cousin in high school recently turned 18. She doesn't have a car and during her birthday weekend thought her parents were going to buy her one. When they didn't, she was pretty upset. I should note that I'm not very close with my cousin or the rest of my extended family for that matter. Anyways, my cousin texted me on the Friday before her birthday asking if she could take my car to the mall and then for an out-of-town road trip with her friends over the weekend. I tell her no. She begs and pleads with me, but I tell her no again. My car is for me to drive and for me only. If she wants her own car, she can save up and buy one. She calls me a bitch and says that I ruined her birthday and that she's embarrassed because her friends think she got a car for her birthday and she doesn't have one. I don't respond to her and think nothing of it. I wake up on Saturday morning to find that my car has been egg and TP'd. And since the weather was warm outside, the raw egg baked into my car along with the dried up toilet paper destroying the paint. I check my security cameras and I find my cousin and a bunch of her stupid friends vandalizing my car. I obviously press charges and my cousin is in legal trouble. Her and her parents are pissed off at me for pressing charges, saying she's just a kid and she's going through a phase. Saying things like I'm almost 30